What's up everybody, man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla Kong Supernova news roundup. Today we're continuing our chronological journey through the development of Godzilla Kong Supernova by talking about events that happened in April, and today it's time to keep the discussion going. If Spacegodzilla is not in this movie, this is going to be the most overhyped thing we've ever done as a fandom, but it's hard not to see it. We'll talk about it today. We've got some casting news, and we've got what seems to be more hints to Spacegodzilla. So let's talk about it. Let's start out with some artwork like always. This first piece comes to us from an artist who I keep picking. I really don't mean to pick the same artists over and over again. It's just either who sends me artwork on Twitter at DMan1954 Godzilla, or it's just artwork that I find that I'm like, that's sick. And a lot of the time the algorithm feeds me artwork from the same artists, and that's no surprise that today's artwork comes to us from Rap Boy Mickey. This guy's on a streak on this channel. I keep showing off his art, but it's all awesome. This is his Godzilla vs. Kong Egypt battle. I love it. The Godzilla vs. Kong Egypt fight is one of my favorite moments in Godzilla Kong the New Empire. I think it is an incredibly entertaining action sequence. I think it is a lot of fun for both Godzilla and Kong, and this artwork is fantastic. I really like it. I love the way that they've drawn Godzilla's spines with the veins in them, and I really love whenever an artist gives Godzilla the streak of smoke coming out of his mouth. That looks fantastic. This next one comes to us from another one of my favorite artists. This is Tom.Arts, and this is a brand new PC release celebrating the villains of the MonsterVerse. This is inspired by some of Matt Frank's work, and I think this turned out fantastic. Godzilla and Kong both back there looking amazing, especially Godzilla. Whoa, Godzilla looks fantastic. Ghidorah is front and center as he should be. Ghidorah is my favorite villain of the MonsterVerse. He is so sick. Shimo's there looking great. Scar King's looking menacing as ever on the Kong side. And then there's the Skullcrawler down at the bottom. I like that it's also kind of divided between the Godzilla side and the Kong side. And then over on the Godzilla side, you've got the female Muto, the male Muto, and Mechagodzilla. It is so awesome. I think this turned out really well. I also think it does a really good job pointing out a fact that a lot of people don't acknowledge, which is that most of the MonsterVerse villains are brand new original monsters. I get many comments of people on one of the two camps, either people being like, I'm sick of all the Toho monsters, I want new monsters, I'm so sick of the Toho monsters. And then I also get a lot of comments of people being like, they don't do enough Toho monsters. For me personally, I think there's a really solid balance, as on the one hand, yeah, we do have a lot of brand new original monsters, and on the other hand, there is still a really healthy dose of Toho monsters in the mix. I mean, we've got all of the big five at this point, and I'm sure there will be more to come. All right, let's get into it. Hey, this is something to watch out for and to worry about at least a little bit. The upcoming Legend of Zelda live-action feature film, pretty big deal. People are very excited about this. Lots of hype behind it. It has the same release date now as Godzilla Kong 3, so maybe this will be a Barbenheimer situation where the two movies will help each other and they'll propel one another into bigger box office heights, you know? Maybe it'll make it a big event, a huge event where people are going out to the theaters to go do a double feature of both movies. I think it'll hurt both films. This isn't like Barbenheimer, where with Barbenheimer, Barbie and Oppenheimer were targeting two entirely different demographics. That was the entire point. Barbie moved to target Oppenheimer specifically because they knew they're not targeting the same demographic, and it got like dudes and men who wouldn't go see Barbie otherwise to go check out Barbie, and it got people who wouldn't have given Oppenheimer a chance to go check out Oppenheimer after seeing Barbie. It was a beautiful symbiotic thing, and this is targeting the same demographic. You've got an action adventure fantasy film going up against the franchise which has become known for action adventure fantasy. Unless Supernova has a real big tone shift, I actually do think this is a pretty big problem, especially when you look at the blockbuster slate for March 2027, which also includes Sonic 4, hot property, and as I've talked about, those Sonic movies only continue to increase in box office, whereas the MonsterVerse, yes, Godzilla Kong the New Empire is the largest, highest grossing film in the MonsterVerse's box office overall, but if you actually track it the way you track like Dune, for instance, you can see the growth from Godzilla vs. Kong to the New Empire was not as much as you'd hope for, given that GVK came out during the pandemic. It didn't have the explosion of popularity that something like Dune had, which does make me a little nervous when you see that the Sonic franchise is doing better than ever. Legend of Zelda is a very highly anticipated movie, unless it looks like it's gonna suck, in which case, rest in peace Zelda fans. We will be eating good as Godzilla fans, hopefully. I don't know, I do think that is something to be a little cautious of, so let's just keep an eye out for that. March is seeming like it's gonna be a pretty crowded season in 2027. Director Grant Sputore, or Grant Sputore, I still don't know how to say his name, weighed in on being the director of the next MonsterVerse movie. He posted on his Instagram this little Hollywood Reporter article announcing that he'll be a part of the next film and says, "Well, this is literally huge news. It's also a huge honor. I've been a giant monster fan for as long as I've been a fan of anything, and to follow in the footsteps of other incredible directors who have had their turn in the MonsterVerse is a dream come true. Can't thank Legendary enough for this Titan-sized opportunity. Obviously just paying his gratitude to being the next MonsterVerse director, and I really would love to know what his dynamic is with the current MonsterVerse directors. I know that obviously many of the MonsterVerse directors wound up friends before working on these films. As if you remember, Jordan Vogt Roberts and Gareth Edwards wound up really close personal friends, at least for a little while there. And it seems like some of the other directors have had very good friendships as well over the years. So I wonder if Sputore has ever had any interactions with them or what his relationship is with them. Sputore also announced Dan Stevens' return. You can see the post announcing his return here. He didn't have much to say other than that he's very excited to work with Dan Stevens, which is very fun. He did announce a lot of the other cast members for Godzilla Kong Supernova, but they didn't really have much to bite into, so I don't feel the need to mention them. Dan Stevens himself weighed in on being added to this movie, and in it, what is he teasing? First, his post has some French in it. I believe he's saying Trapper will strike. He says that there's an awesome team being pulled together for this new movie. The monster mission includes Caitlin Dever, Jack O'Connell, Delroy Lindo, Matthew Modine, and some more. And then he teases at the very end, watch this space with a dinosaur, earth, and an ape. Those dinosaur, earth, and ape emojis look different depending on whose device you screenshot this from. Sometimes the dinosaur is rendered looking a little differently, as we'll talk about in a second. Watch this space obviously wound up being very important, as watch this space is the binary code repeating in the Godzilla Kong Supernova title card reveal. I have theorized at length in other videos what this might mean, but personally my theory is that watch this space will come into play in the movie in some way or another. My current theory on the channel is that maybe that code is being sent to Monarch, and it's a warning that something is coming from space. A warning from who? Maybe it's a freaking Mothra twins, I don't know. Go check out my recent breakdown of the Supernova trailer where I covered all the things that you guys pointed out that I missed, because it's got a lot of interesting stuff in it. Watch this space though. It's crazy that Dan Stevens publicly posted that well before the ARG for the new MonsterVerse film started. That's very cool. It means we have to keep a close eye on our actors for this new movie, as they might be dropping teasers left and right. Speaking of, Alycia Debnam-Carey has joined the MonsterVerse. I know her from Fear the Walking Dead, but many other people know her from many other projects. She's very famous. It's very cool that she's joined the new film. This was broken by Deadline, and there's not much going on in that article. They first of all mentioned that her character description is kept under wraps, which means she is the first character cast for this movie that has had no details about her released. What does that mean? I don't know. She did later on tease the freaking Mothra twins, it seems. I don't know that for sure. She teased some twins on her Instagram, but a lot of us are thinking probably Mothra twins. Maybe she's going to be a new Mothra twin. Maybe they've done some change-ups to the MonsterVerse lore. That's some blind speculation that I'm not going to latch onto too closely, and just throwing that out there. I don't know why it would be kept under wraps when every other character has been given at least some description of what they're doing in this new movie, so that I do find a little suspicious and maybe gives her a little more weight than many people think, but it also might just mean that she's more of a sub-character, a B-level character who doesn't have as much to do in this movie. The article also mentions how she'll be reuniting with the new star of the film, Caitlin Dever, as the two of them were just in Apple Cider Vinegar together. Alycia Debnam-Carey teased on her Instagram as well, just like Dan Stevens. There's the dinosaur emoji that Dan Stevens used, just rendered with somebody else's phone. This is clearly the Apple version. She said, let's have some fun with a star, a Godzilla, and then looks like a shooting star. Twinkle Godzilla shooting star. Are these cast members teasing Spacegodzilla? Watch this space with Godzilla Kong and the Earth in the middle, clearly a threat coming from space to take on Godzilla and Kong. Now she's teasing stars and a dinosaur. I don't know. If you read it like it's text, it would be saying Star Godzilla or Space Godzilla, or maybe we're gonna be calling the new monster Supernova and it'll be a Godzilla from the stars, but it will be like the legendary off-brand version of Space Godzilla. I don't know. But I do think he's gonna arrive as a shooting star or a meteorite, as she teased it, and as I've talked about in my teaser breakdowns, they keep teasing shooting stars and meteorites. Dan Stevens keeps doing it as well. I am not personally thinking that it's going to be the Space Godzilla, like licensed from Toho no, I don't think it's gonna be Space Godzilla, the one we all know and love, but I do believe that a space dragon, a space dinosaur, a very close representation of a Space Godzilla could be the threat of this new movie. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know how people would feel about it if it doesn't wind up being the Space Godzilla, like name brand. I would be okay with it depending on the execution, as long as the monster's cool and the movie is good. I don't care. It would be cool if it was Space Godzilla though, depending on if they do him right, because he can also be pretty dumb. But I don't know. Let's have some fun with the stars and the dinosaurs. I don't know. I know a lot of people are really hinging on it being Space Godzilla. I would caution against that. Don't latch on to Space Godzilla so hard that if it isn't Space Godzilla, you're gonna be disappointed and not like the movie. But also, I mean, like, I'm not gonna deny that it does seem like people keep freaking teasing Space Godzilla, so let's see. Finally, Caitlin Dever weighed in on Alycia Debnam-Carey being casted. Again, they were in Apple Cider Vinegar together, and she just said can't stay away from her, and she's very excited to be working with her again. What do you guys think? What is Dan Stevens teasing? What does Watch This Space mean? And what is Alycia Debnam-Carey teasing? Do you think it's Space Godzilla? Comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys all for watching. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. It is through the support of the patrons on Patreon that I'm able to continue to make videos like this in the first place. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. If that's not your thing, please consider joining as a channel member. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. D-Man, out.